Hi guys, welcome back to the Improvement Season podcast. Actually, it's so funny. The Improvement Season now, thinking about it, the name, it's just because the last time we chatted and I was asking you, so like, how's your training and nutrition, Pascal? And you're like, you're kind of in maintenance mode, right? It's not so much improvement mode in the same way. And then I'm in prep. So it's like, I just introduced it.
I have to say something about this though, because I stepped on the scale here today and my weight is up at around like 75.7, which is much, much higher than when I, of course, ended the diet. And of course, this is just a temporary thing. I think that it's a little bit lower than this. I was farting a lot here in the morning, so that's probably a contributing factor. But I really do believe that it's hard for me to maintain that low body weight without eating very low calories, even at maintenance.
That's a good discovery.
Yeah. I mean, we've talked about my pathetically poor maintenance or just caloric intake in general, right? So going even lower than this wouldn't really feel comfortable over a longer period of time, I would say.
Do you, because you're not tracking, do you track?
Yeah,
Do you know your calorie intake? Okay.
Yeah, it's somewhere around like 2,200. 2,200 to 2,400. So in that range, it always falls, which isn't crazy, especially because I'm not an inactive person. No. I'm still getting in like over 10,000 steps on a day-to-day basis and all that kind of stuff, right? And still, this is, I can't maintain at around this body weight. It shoots up. And then at some point, of course, it starts to be maintenance due to you just being a heavier individual. But it's also not that I'm just like, I don't know, having untracked things and the caloric intake is actually higher than it actually is. And I still am eating salads, my vegetables and all that kind of stuff, right? So it's also not that I'm just eating junk food or anything alike. And there are some hidden calories that I'm not even aware of also.
And I mean, that could easily happen for someone who's on such a low maintenance. Like I just think about Gen Pop people, and what is it? The general recommendation for males is like 2,500 calories is their maintenance or something. Like that's the general calorie recommendation that you hear. And it's like, well, if you were to take that on board, like if you had no knowledge, you'd be like, well, I'm way more active than the average person. Yeah. Hitting over 10,000 steps, that's way more active than the average person. Training 5+ times a week or what have you, way more active, way more vigorous. So surely my maintenance is 3,000 calories. If I plug it into a calculator, it would probably, if you did a calorie calculator, I imagine it would come out at like 3,000, and then you're suddenly in a huge surplus, right? Yeah,
no, absolutely. And it is, it's just funny because we've talked about it here recently where I said that I may be too lean, but I'm not even certain as to whether this is the case or not, especially when you see the facial things. But this has always been my problem when I see myself in the mirror due to the things that I've reported in the past already tons of times. The loose skin does make a huge difference. Believe me, when you see yourself, especially the upper body, this is the part where you look at the most. And you perceive yourself to be fatter than you actually are, when in reality you are actually quite lean already. So yeah, this always plays into this, right? And the perception is always skewed, and you can do whatever you want, right? If it's one thing that you're seeing, it's hard to convince yourself that it isn't the other way, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I can totally see that being tough. I imagine there's people listening who maybe have loose skin themselves and they can relate heavily to that.
Yeah, or doesn't really need to be like massively loose skin, such as many people have it in their heads when they are thinking about loose skin. It just needs to be a little bit, right? When you're sitting, for example, and it already laps over kind of your trousers. Yeah. And for me personally, it is a little bit more than this, but it makes things just appear softer, which is, of course, makes total sense. But when you're then seeing yourself in the mirror, you think like, okay, no, this should be something that I should easily maintain because I'm not too lean, right? when in reality you may be actually quite leaner than you think you are, just because of the way that you appear to the outside or to yourself when looking at the mirror. And this is why I think it may be that my body is just having an easier time of actually storing the calories. And yeah, my body weight is then going up to around like 75. I think that this is something that should be more easily manageable to maintain. So yeah, I just wanted to say that progress is still being made, right? Not to the way that I would like to, but at the same time, it's just I would say, natural physiological process that is taking place.
I guess it's that you're kind of aiming to maintain but accepting if your weight creeps up a bit, it creeps up a bit over time.
100%. This is also something that I always encourage my athletes to think about when maintaining. I rather want them to still see that the body weight is slightly moving upwards rather than downwards when it comes to a maintenance approach. Because it's then so slow that you're still reaping the rewards of being in a slight caloric surplus.
Yeah, for sure. And I think it's something I've had clients before who everyone's experience of diet fatigue and where their individual kind of settling range is, or upper and lower intervention point, where their window of where their body feels best in homeostasis is going to be different. Because they'll be like, hey, I shouldn't feel these levels of diet fatigue because I'm this much, like I can't see my abs. And I'm like, yeah, but we've lost X amount of weight. You've been overweight the majority of your life. Your body has a higher kind of lower intervention point. And so you can't compare yourself to me, for example, or I don't know, Dirk, bring him up every podcast. Like, he obviously has quite a lower intervention point. So everyone's that little bit different, and your body will tell you, and it'll give you signs and signals. So I guess for you, maybe you can't use that visual cue. You have to more so listen to, like, okay, how do I really feel in terms of like my hunger, energy, libido, like how's my sleep, motivation to train, all those things. That's maybe a better indicator than do I have abs or something, because that's a hard one for you.
Unfortunately, it is. Steve, I wanted to talk about two things here in this podcast. Maybe the Switzerland WMBF, or was it? It was WMBF, wasn't it?
Yeah, the SNBF. I don't know why they differentiate themselves like that, but they've been around for 26 years, so they're like the second longest standing natural bodybuilding like show that's been around. Which is cool.
I think that you can talk about with Mike next week about this, because I won't be around, and Mike was actually there with you. So maybe a great opportunity to talk about this next week, a little bit of a recap. What it is that I would like to talk about is a little bit more gossipy. Oh?
Can I guess?
Yes, please.
Does it rhyme with Hansen?
No.
Jack Hansen?
No.
Okay, it's not, so it's not Matt Jansen.
Okay, what's that about? But this is something that we're going to cover in a couple of seconds, because I was actually quite shocked when I saw this here in the morning.
Okay, I know what it's going to be.
Yeah.
Does it rhyme with, is it another Matt?
No.
Van Dyke?
Yeah, exactly, but it's a
Nipples.
Mike. Isn't it a Mike? Mike Van Dyke. Oh, sorry, I understood.
Sorry.
Matt.
Van Dyke. Sorry, Matt. Oh, yes, sorry, yeah.
Exactly. So for the people who haven't really seen that, which would be quite surprising to me, to be honest, because it really does make the rounds. And what happened is that there is an individual, which I never heard of before, who's called Mike Van Wyk.
Oh, you haven't seen his stuff before?
No. It could be
popped
that.
Up a lot.
All right. Could be that I'm mispronouncing his name, but he's also having a wider social media following of nearly 300,000 followers, and he did quite a controversial kind of, or rather, let's say dogmatic video over on Instagram.
He does quite a lot of that.
All right,
that's his.
Maybe it's his spiel, maybe it's his way of attracting people and all that kind of stuff, but it was under the lines of what it is that we've also discussed recently, like why does science-based lifters all look mediocre, and why are they basically just small? which Jeff Nippard took the opportunity to refute, and actually basically giving some kind of very much good arguments against his fallacies, his way of thinking, the wrong arguments that he's making. The day after Jeff Nippard posted it, Mike came up to him in the gym, and now here comes the kicker, stabs Jeff Nippard twice in his neck, and Jeff needed to go to the hospital, which is absolutely crazy to think about. And I just wanted to bring this up and to dissect it a little bit. It is a little bit gossipy, and also it is a little bit more so fitness related, because I think it just shows the bullshit that people can spout, and if they are then receiving some criticism, how some people are then reacting to that criticism, which is absolutely insane to start off with. So letting that sink for a moment, have you seen the post also that Jeff Nippard did? And what's your take on the matter, Steve?
Yeah, I've seen maybe 4 posts relating to this. It's actually not funny, but it feels funny. So I'm going to say it's kind of funny that Greg Doucette kind of voiced his opinions about it. And he was obviously, you can't not be on Jeff's side unless you're a little troll commenting. You're like, oh, he deserved it. Science-based dude. Like, fuck off, basically. This is pathetic behavior. This is worse than pathetic behavior. It's bullying. It's criminal. It's like this sort of person is despicable. Like, I think all these things about this individual. The unfortunate thing is, like I said, I'd already seen this guy's content spreading in the social media. He is that personality. He is disagreeable, not kind. I don't think particularly well thought out. Very clickbaity, you know, people love it because he's very diversive. And so I think it's completely fair game what Jeff did in terms of responding to the video. It's social media, you're allowed to do this. And we all know Jeff. He doesn't do this in a disrespectful way. He does it very much down the line. He's a science-based guy, right? He takes it's not an ad hoc or ad hominem kind of argument or anything. And the guy's response, like, it clearly triggered him big time. And he has a problem. Like, that's not okay to do at all. But the reason I was saying it was funny is because Greg is saying how this shouldn't be, like, this is complete no-go. You think about how many people Greg has disrespected. And sometimes, and not like Jeff has disrespected them, like, sometimes it's really quite disrespectful. And he's done it actually to Jeff and his girlfriend. If anyone would have, like, deserved something like this to happen to them, is maybe someone like Greg. Not that I'd say he still doesn't deserve it, but, you know, you'd think it maybe would be more likely. Like, the one time Jeff kind of just, like, snips at someone and he suddenly gets flicking jabbed in the throat twice. Man, mental. But yeah, so I was like, it's kind of crazy that Greg is coming out with a video being like, yeah, you shouldn't, like, ever, and he's never had anything to happen to him as far as I'm aware. Anyway, I've rambled, but yeah, I think just despicable behavior.
To me, it's just absolutely crazy to think that someone would go that far for a criticism of a statement that you have made. So you are saying something that is factually also incorrect to start off with. Then someone is criticizing you and debunking the things that you're saying, and you go out and stab that individual. Just let that sink for a moment, how crazy that is.
I just want to clarify, when you say stab, you mean like jabbing with his hand at his throat? Just because people might be like, he stabbed him in the throat with a knife?
No, sorry for that, yeah.
It's all right. I'm just imagining the comments.
Yeah, it's just super crazy to go to such lengths because of a thing that you started in the first place. You can't be, in my personal opinion, you can't be pissed off if you are making some claims and statements and someone else is refuting and debunking those.
Fair game.
Totally. Right?
He kind of started in the first place, right?
Yes, exactly.
Because it's a direct call out to Jeff almost by saying like the science-based lifters, because you could almost say Jeff is the, like, I don't know, the king of the science-based lifter crowd.
Yeah, but to me, it just screams that you are an idiot if you behave like this after someone is actually then criticizing you, right? You are making some idiotic statements to begin with. Someone else is coming up to you to be debunking those, giving some very valid criticism and arguments, and you have no idea other than to get physical. That is just, to me, screaming that you are intellectually absolutely rock bottom. You're just an absolutely pathetic idiot, to be honest, right? Because otherwise, you would be able to first and foremost grasp also the potential consequences. I mean, Jeff is in the fitness industry, has millions of followers. You yourself are part of the fitness industry as well, with 300,000 followers, which is not little to begin with. If you're getting physical, of course, you need to be able to comprehend that your actions will have consequences for you, probably also for your business and all that kind of stuff. Acting like this is just, to me, once again, very much impulsive behavior that is very much like a kid, like a child that can't control his temper.
The thing that worries me here too is how the like degree of aggravation that Jeff put upon him was minimal to very, very little. What if someone did something a bit more aggressive against him? Someone like him came at him, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That would have been an all-out like fight. Would he have actually stabbed him with a knife? Would he have shot him? Like, what is he doing to people that actually do something bad to him? I hate to think. This is like, it makes me think of high school bullies, the way that he's responds to it. And most high school bullies, they mature, they realize that they were very childlike in their behavior and that they lashed out against people. Man, it just speaks volumes of their character and that individual as a whole. And I hate to see it because I think Jeff is a great person, and I imagine that it was probably, I'm sure he's all right, and I'm like, it sounds like he is okay, but still, it's kind of scary to be physically attacked like that, especially when I don't think Jeff was probably expecting it at all, because it was minor stuff, like just
So two things that I want to address here. First and foremost, if you get physical at a gym, to me personally, I had it like this one time or twice already happening. Not getting to the point where things got physical, but very much close to it. And to me personally, especially at that day and age now, there's a sense of, I don't really feel great then when I then approach the gym, because I am afraid that it then will happen again, and coming to a confrontation that you never really know who you're dealing with, right? And it could very well be that it's just a crazy motherfucker who pulls up a knife and then stabs you, right? And that's an unease sensation. And the times when I then went back into the gym, it made me alert. And that's not a great sensation or feeling to have, especially now with Jeff, with someone else putting himself out there, getting physically attacked. You never know who takes it on board then, takes Mike as a role model and thinks in a more extreme manner of like, mate, he didn't get what he deserves, now I will reprove him, I think that there's probably then an unease sensation for then Jeff approaching or going to the gym the next time, especially when he's by himself or so. Secondarily, if you really boil it down, how crazy that is, think about it. It is about lifting. There's an argument here that it was just about lifting. People
get so emotionally tied to their lifting style, right?
It is so fucking wild. Insane if you really think about it.
Becomes a religion.
This. Yeah. That's exactly it. How strong of beliefs do you need to have to get physical because someone is actually criticizing your viewpoints in regards to then science-based lifting? How hard do you need to stand behind it to approach someone like that who has a different kind of viewpoint surrounding, let me say this again, lifting? That is just crazy. I mean, there are plenty of things in the world where I can understand if someone were to get or sees the desire to get physical. We can all think about certain things that we strongly feel about, or we think that it's worth standing up for. But man, just think about it, especially like ages ago where there was a debate between intensity and also volume. What is king of driving hypertrophy? Just think about if people were to meet up on the street or in the gym and getting into a physical fight because of this argument. How crazy is that?
It makes me think there's more to it in some ways, or hope almost, that Mike, Matt or Mike? It's Mike.
It's Mike.
Yeah, if part of me hopes, I don't know, something really bad happened to him that day and he was like on the edge and he just needed one small trigger. You know, like you can be having a really bad day and then someone just like, I don't know, pushes in front of you and you just suddenly like go, hey, you freaking, I don't know, dickhead, whatever. And you're like, normally I wouldn't react like that, but I don't know, I've had so many bad things happen to me that day and I just snapped.
Yeah.
I kind of hope it's like that, but I have a feeling it isn't. I just have a feeling it isn't.
Totally. I mean, we can always be the person who's then giving the other person the benefit of a doubt. Like, hey, it could very well be that at home there was a fight as well. He took it with him into the gym. I don't know what's going on, right? So it could always be that something else is going on behind the scenes. This is also why whenever someone or something is happening outside, right? Let's just say that you're going through the streets and someone is giving you a hard time. You never really know what happened leading up to this event. That doesn't make it right that the behavior of the other person is actually behaving in an according fashion or so, right? Because especially adults, they should most of the time have their emotions under control. But we all know that this is the most optimal approach, and we all have those moments where we are acting in a way that is inappropriate. So it could also very well be that something led to that moment, which once again doesn't really make it right. No. And I just find it crazy that the trigger was a discussion about fitness and basically two different opinions. One was more valid than the other, in my opinion, which could also then be backed up with evidence and facts. One was just like pretty much an uneducated personal opinion, right? But in order then to defend yourself physically, I find absolutely, utterly ridiculous and completely inappropriate. And it just, once again, though, pulls us back to what it is that you said, Steve, how strong beliefs are in the fitness industry and how crazy that is. And this is just the pinnacle. But we see it in those small, minor fights, especially on the internet, when it comes to kind of, once again, something like lengthened partials, right? Should we use them? Should we? What about intensity? Should we push to failure? Or what about training volume? If you really get into a fight about those kind of things, sorry, but, and this sounds harsh, but to me personally, you're a fucking idiot.
Yeah, I agree.
We can discuss things, we can debate things, we can have a proper conversation that really gets us both forward, or we can be just like childish idiots who fight about those things. And in the end, we haven't really accomplished anything at all, other than hating each other even more.
Yeah, even with everything I've kind of outlined in context and maybe something boiled up and led to this, I still just can't excuse that physical behavior that he took. And especially not just once, but doing it twice.
Yeah.
It wasn't just like once and it was like an uncontrolled, my ape brain took over and it was just an impulse. And like, if that had happened, just immediately apologize profusely and be like, that was terrible behavior. It should never happen again. But to do it twice, it indicates that person is really not.
To be fair though, Steve, it is very hard in the moment. If you're getting or giving into that impulsive behavior, to calm yourself down. For me personally, I can always say that if I'm really wild up, I need like 5 minutes to 10 minutes to calm down, to grasp my actions and how I acted. And then I can more easily apologize because I had the time that I needed to reflect upon my decisions. But in the moment, it could definitely get out of hand.
I just can't relate. I just really can't relate to him being physical. I really struggle with it. So, yeah, I don't really have anything else to say on it. I don't know if you do or if you have the second bit of gossip to go down.
The second bit is coming from you, though.
Oh, right. I thought you had two.
No. The two things that I wanted to talk about is the SNBF. But this is, once again, I think better safe for then the next time because Mike was with you. And the other thing was now the incident here. But you said something about gossip as well. Is it going to be a gossipy episode this time?
Sounds like it. I didn't. I thought we would talk about the SNBF, but it's cool. I can save that and chat with Mike about it. And we can talk about also, because he's going to come with me to Boston and everything there. So that's going to be exciting. And Mike will appreciate being able to come on and chat about that stuff.
Yeah.
So, yeah, with... so you haven't seen it. I think, so first of all, Nick Walker pulled out from the Olympia last minute.
I didn't, now that you're saying it, it makes a lot of sense, yeah.
But yeah, so they did a video together. They did a video together like saying, hey, Nick's pulling out. I can't remember exactly why. They just decided he wasn't in a place to be able to compete. And then I just saw it yesterday that... I think Sean Clarida has dropped him. So Sean Clarida came second, of course. Yeah. And looked, I think, worse than the year prior.
To be honest, much worse, actually.
Yeah.
And I've just
smaller and
exactly. I've just seen a post about it of like the rationalizing and basically also accusing Sean to wanting to make decisions that weren't really aligning with the coach and all that kind of stuff.
Okay. So yeah, Sean left him, I believe. Who did I just say? Who pulled out for Nick left him as well. And I think there's been a number of additional athletes who are IFBB pros who have also left. There might be like a handful, 5. But that's pretty freaking big. Even just to have one of those athletes leave, but to have Nick leave and Sean leave, 2 like major Olympians, and then to have like another 3-4 leave, that is like damning, I think. Pretty crushing. And to all leave at the same time, it's also a bit like, I know it's just post-Olympia, but they've done Olympians with him before. They haven't won them before, and they've continued with him. So it just feels like something has happened. Something this year with Matt and his coaching hasn't gone to plan. And I don't know what. I have no insights. The only thing I can say is, like, obviously Matt is a incredibly well-known and respected coach, but you just don't know what's happening behind closed doors or anything. And
you never really know, especially also when, you never really know, especially when with enhanced athletes and coaches, in my opinion, because there's a different component that comes into it that is then dictating a lot and has much more major implications, or then not just like short-term implications, but maybe also long-term implications of, for example, okay, we need to now up your drug dosage on those kind of compounds in order to see the results that we would like to. And if the athlete isn't willing to, because maybe also physically they aren't capable of, because they are already at the edge of what they physically can handle, other decisions come into play as well. And I think that this is something that you, as a spectator, never really see anything of, which is for obvious reasons, but probably there are a lot of discussions in the background, I would assume, with high-level competitors of like, are you willing to do this? But hey, I'm just the coach giving you instructions. I'm not taking responsibility for it.
Do not see the progress you would like? Are you sick of writing your own programs? Or perhaps you need some accountability in order to stick with a plan? Then it's time to start working with us. We at Revive Stronger offer a truly personalized coaching service. You'll get more than just an email with some macros or random cookie cutter program. With Revive Stronger, you will be the center of our attention. You will receive your own fully individualized training protocol alongside a customized nutritional strategy. We create the coaching around your needs, wants, personal preferences, and your own unique lifestyle. Every single week, we delve into your program in order to make appropriate adjustments so that we get the most out of your time and the best possible outcome. We help both female and male athletes to seriously change their body composition by adding more muscle mass and decreasing fat tissue. Additionally, you get access to our exclusive Revive Stronger member site, where you'll be able to watch over hundreds of hours worth of educational content. No matter if you're a competitive bodybuilder or just want to look better, if you need help with your progress and taking your physique to the next level, our coaching is for you. It's time to make a change. Sign up today and let's revive stronger.
Yeah, it again, and the enhanced side does make it way tougher because we're playing with one less major variable on the natural side. So there's just so much that goes on. And yeah, unfortunately, this side of the gossip is what I've outlined to you. I don't have any insights. I don't have any knowledge of why they're leaving. It could literally just be like, hey, I stuck with him through previous Olympias. We still didn't do as well as I hoped, and I want a fresh approach. It could literally be that, which I can kind of get. But yeah,
and maybe it was just like very much unlucky or unfortunate coincidence that both high-level competitors dropped at the same time, which then makes or leaves the impression that something is going on, when in reality it was just like by pure accident.
Yeah, I'm trying to think how many. There's quite a lot of them. I was trying to. I just saw that it isn't just those two guys, but there's quite a lot who left, or a lot. There's like,
but isn't it so, Steve? Just to put up a different perspective, right? Those individuals, they all know each other. Simply because they are the best of the best. They're competing at different shows, and I would very much assume that that circle is actually a smaller and a closer one, that they all kind of know each other. And of course, if someone is then talking maybe even poorly or negatively about the coach, it always impacts the other. Let me give you an example. So our kindergarten that we are at, or that Tony is right now still in, and there were lots of things that logistically and also from a just decision-making from the top-down approach wasn't really the greatest, and it left a bitter taste in the mouth of the parents. And nothing really changed. And there were people voicing their opinions, and nothing changed at all. And sometimes it was even just like shouting into the void. So, and then there were like two parents that made the decision of leaving the kindergarten and telling other parents about their decision and as to why that they made that decision. And of course, there are also here, this episode is sounding very terrible in some instances, but also some parents are not the brightest. Right, and they are quite impressionable when it comes to opinions and decisions of others. Instead of making your own decision and your own picture of everything that is going on, right, and then maybe also listening and talking to the other side, they are just listening to that, the parents who had a bad experience, and they let themselves being impacted by that, and also in return make the decision of like leaving the kindergarten. Right? So sometimes it just needs one person who has a strong enough opinion and a more authoritative voice to impact lots of other people. And we see it all the time in other areas of life, right? May it be something like investing or politics or something like this. If someone acts trustworthy and has this authoritative approach, or is in your close circle that you are trusting, you take their opinion and their stance on board much more easily. And it could also, this is of course just theoretical, or kind of wrapping our minds around what may then lead to other people leaving as well. I'm just saying that as long as we don't know what's really going on, it could very well be that nothing was wrong with, for example, Matt's approach. It could, though, very well be that case, but it could also be that one individual had a poor experience, which then reflected on other people's choice and decision making as well.
Yeah, for sure. I could see that. I could definitely see that. I don't really know what to say. Like I said, that's all I really had on it, was that a big group of them left, and it's like big news, and I just wondered, why does that happen? What went down? Where will Nick go now? Where will Sean go now? Who will coach them? That'll be interesting. I did see Nick I don't know if he stopped, but he's using the hypertrophy app from RP again, which is, I don't know, interesting. He's gone back down to using that. So maybe Nick will get coached by Jared or Mike. Whoa, yeah, imagine that. That would be very interesting to see how that would go.
That's true.
But I imagine it's coaching someone like that. A big part of it is, I think actually, from what I've heard, when you coach someone who's enhanced, quite often the coach doesn't have that much input onto training. Like, it's mostly nutrition,
just
and like drugs,
and
then just go into the gym and like they just do their own like hard training. I don't know. That wouldn't surprise me if that was the case for some people at least. But I mean, like I said, I think the drug side is quite a big part of it, and I don't think Mike and Jared like that's their like bread and butter, is coaching people on the drug protocols. I know Mike, for example, has always had a coach for that specific reason, right? I think Jared maybe has as well. I'm not sure. Yeah. So anyway, maybe Nick will get coached by Joe Jeffries. Imagine that.
Yeah.
That would be so big.
Yeah, I would be quite proud and happy for it if that was actually taking place.
Yeah, that would be wild. I don't know if there's any other news, or that's because quite often when we come on up here, it's like, oh, what's big in the evidence-based fitness scene? I mean, the biggest thing is that Jeff Nippard, got jabbed in the throat twice, which is just kind of wild. I can't really think of anything that I've been necessarily seeing. I know that the latest thing that I haven't did, the guys from Data Driven Strength, so Josh Pelland, I believe, headed up the recent meta-analysis on volume, and they had a 5-hour podcast talking about it.
With Eric Trexler? Was it this
No,
one?
they had it on their own Data Driven Strength
5
podcast.
hours?
Yes.
How is that even possible?
Yeah, I know. I think I ended up listening to most of it. So him and Zach Robinson. But
did they take any kind of breaks in between? Did they sleep?
I imagine
change?
so. I don't know.
Picking up the kids from school.
I had it on in the background of various times I was commuting and stuff. But I think they were just going into like, you can't just pull the, what's it called? Like, people use the abstract and they just pull that, and they were talking about all the nuances of how they went about it, and there's lots of caveats and things like this. So no, I haven't listened to the one. I know they just released it, right? One with Josh and Eric Trexler on it. I haven't listened to that one yet. I don't know if you have.
No, I've just seen the thumbnail
pop up.
Yeah, but as I said in the past, I'm not listening to fitness podcasts anymore. It doesn't really interest me anymore. And also, we have ours. I'm always editing our podcast episodes, so
keeps you somewhat up to date.
Yeah, and this is supposed to sound very much unbiased, which I know it isn't. But I think that our podcast as a resource for evidence-based fitness is one, if not the best that is out there. So I don't see the necessity or need to then listen to any other podcasts.
Hey, that's big props to the guests and also me. So I appreciate that. That's nice. And actually, on that note, my solo episode finally came out.
Yeah.
Which I don't know how long ago I recorded it, but it felt like ages ago. My face certainly was a bit more chubby in that time.
That's true.
I just have to say, if you're listening and you listened to that, and especially if you commented or you gave a thumbs up, I really appreciate it, because I remember saying to you, Pascal, like, I'm not sure how it's going to go down. I'm kind of nervous about it. I don't know if people are going to.
And it went down very, very well. Which
I was well chuffed.
I totally understand, to be honest. Like, very much.
but it was so kind. The comments that were there, and even the views has been well viewed. I was like, it's going to get like less than 1,000 views on YouTube, but people seem to have really liked it. So every week now it's just going to be me interviewing me, and that's what you're going to get. No, I think it's given me the confidence to do them now and then. When I think there's something good to cover, or it's been a certain period of time, because people enjoyed it, but it's certainly not going to be a every other week or every month type of deal. But now and then I think can do one of those, which is nice.
I've said it so often in the past, Steve, that you should have more confidence in yourself when it comes to the knowledge that you've accumulated over the years. I mean, not only have you interviewed so many people, you are in the trenches yourself as a coach. You're a very good and experienced practitioner. And also you are walking the walk like quite intensely when it comes to training and nutrition and all that kind of stuff, right? So, I mean, if you just look at that CV itself, it speaks for itself. If you were to rate someone else based on those factors, I think that you would rate them pretty highly. And
just need a PhD.
Yeah, but apparently you don't do it for yourself. And I think that you should.
No, I'm slowly growing in confidence with all of that. Actually, interestingly enough, being coached by Cliff is giving me more confidence in my own coaching.
Because he's so shitty about it.
No, I can't say exactly why it is, but I think it's the way that he coaches and communicates to me, and the amount of trust I have in him. It's given me insights into how my clients view me, and so it's quite nice, like, having that. He gave me a little, I tagged him and gave him a shout out, and then he reshared it, and he was just like, my client and friend, like, blah, 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 like, I don't know, he's just gave me some kind words, and I basically reposted it and was like, this is what the coach-client relationship should all be about. And I had one of my clients reach out to me and like, this is how I view the relationship with you. Like, I appreciate you so much, all of this. I'm like, oh, wow. Like, it really becomes quite a tight bond, especially not with every client. I don't think it can be, but with some clients, it really, like, you'll know this, especially your longer term clients, you've really gone through the thick of things with them. They communicate a lot with you. They barely miss check-ins. They become like a really close person. Like, I actually think about it sometimes. I speak to some of my clients more than like my parents and my family and stuff like this. Like, you become a really like big person in their life. So anyway, it's been nice to be coached too. Like, I'm really appreciating being coached. I really see the value in it.
That is great. And this is exactly what you've hoped for, right?
Yes.
Because in the first place, when you started, you were still a little bit skeptical. And now it really, I don't know, you're seeing the advantage or getting the advantage of it and seeing the benefits overall, which is great.
Yeah. I totally get why the top level athletes all have coaches.
Yeah.
Because it takes a lot to think about what you're doing with your training, with your nutrition, with everything that you're executing. But if you can just focus on the execution part, you've just freed up a shit ton of mental time and energy that now you can work even harder. You can be even better at the process. And if that coach can give you an objective perspective outside of your own that's not biased, they might even be able to set you up on a better process than you even could. So now you've doubled down and you're getting even better results. So I'm excited for what I can achieve with a coach in my corner now. Even at this moment, I want to keep Cliff like during my off season, and potentially even think about maybe I'll give him the reins on my training to some extent. That's something I'm less wanting to give over, but I could see that could really be beneficial, especially in an off season. The nutritional component somewhat is like not it's so slow moving. So it's like, what will that really do? But then that's where the training component really comes in, but also like lifestyle, those sort of things too, which I think Cliff might be able to give me some really useful perspectives and manage that in a different way, allow me to learn and get more out of myself and then my clients too. So it's cool. It's cool to have that experience and not let my ego, I don't know if it was ego, I guess it partly was, but also just thinking I think a lot of coaches do it where they're like, oh, I'm a coach, I know my stuff, I know myself better than anyone, so I'll just do it myself. But I think if you really kind of want to I do think a coach could get you better results. Not in every case, but a good coach should be able to. Because I feel that way about me. I think if you're a good coach, you know yourself well, yeah, you'll get great results coaching yourself. But I think I could take that person on, give them another perspective, and help them get even better results in many cases. Not always, but I do believe that to be the case, because you just look at things differently. And again, you free up mental energy to focus on just executing the process. So anyway, that's been a good lesson for me this year, I think.
I think that's great, because some things you just have to test for yourself in order to have an opinion surrounding this, and also knowing whether it is for you or not, at least in that given situation. Sometimes we may not be ready for something, right? And sometimes it wasn't the right thing at the right time. But hearing this, and also considering even going into the off season with him, is very, very cool, because I think that if you're just stuck with your personal opinion of like, no, I know it all, I know enough about myself, right? I can't really see that anyone else would have a better idea of what's going on with me and the biofeedback and all that kind of stuff, I think that you would probably be off at a worse point then. Especially now here during the competition and all that kind of stuff. Especially now, also when things aren't really going according to plan, and you start to doubt what it is that you've been doing, right? Having someone in your corner helps you massively, I think.
For sure. No, totally. And I think it's, some people worry that some people have asked me if I've struggled like giving him the reins, like where I've maybe thought about doing things differently. But I am so aware of the fact that there's many roads to Rome, right? And I'm so aware of his experience and how I trust him, and also seeing where my physique is, that I have just full faith and trust in that process. And also, if it didn't go to plan, I wouldn't feel bad and be like, like I'd hate to think that I'd blame them. I'd take accountability. I'm trusting them and I'm following what they're telling me to do. That doesn't put the bearing on that coach. It puts it on me for just following them and trusting them. I don't feel that way. So yeah, it's a cool thing. I was trying to think, one thing I wanted to ask, because I know we're going to talk about the SNBF next weekend, but I did want to ask Pascal, did you check the live stream at all? Did you see, or was it past your bedtime?
Kind of, yeah. I'm going to bed very early, unfortunately. Which
I was on stage at 9 p.m. to be
fair. Yeah, that is already kind of my time to fall asleep. Be in the land of the wild.
I wanted to see if you'd seen how I just wanted to get your opinion on how I stacked up.
It was, to be fair, a very, very crazy lineup that you had against you. That like even someone like Babacar, right? I mean, him there, right?
Yeah, I'll put it this way. So Babacar, arguably the world's best natural bodybuilder, I put him next to a Brian DaCosta. I love Brian. I don't know if he's beating Babacar. The muscle bellies, the small waist, the just craziness of his physique. I mean, Babacar's an IFBB pro, right? For a reason. So Babacar being there was already like an automatic fuck. Then Ramon was there, and obviously I think I spoke about him maybe previously, and he turned pro in 2021 when I did Worlds. He was there too. He turned pro. He's very young, but big guy, heavily muscled, very conditioned. He just beat Steve-O, who I competed against at the Netherlands and lost to in the overall. So already someone who, like, unbelievable. And then the heavyweight that went pro at that show that day was just huge. Ginormous. He looks like fucking a Jay Cutler. Like, ridiculous. The amount of muscle mass that he has. Then I don't actually know who fourth place, I didn't know of him, but he was just like very well put together, all of this. But to put it this way, the guy that came fifth was Leo King from Canada, who I've actually met previously because he came to the Supernaturals and judged with us, because he's a judge, and the Canadian affiliate, he heads up the WWF Canada. He has been a pro bodybuilder for longer than I have been bodybuilding. He turned pro in 2012.
Wow.
So he's been a pro bodybuilder for over a decade. That level of caliber of athlete to come fifth already tells you how high of a lineup that really was like the standard. And I'm not just saying that to like be like, oh, you're just saying that because you came last and blah blah blah. You'd only have to look at the photos and the videos to see that it was a crazy lineup. And then the guy that came sixth was an Italian pro. He won like an Italian overall, I think, some French, the kind of pro cup, the overall there, like, again, like very high caliber. So yeah, the main thing for me was I brought my best to stage. So I'm not upset about it, but we'll talk about it more next week.
Absolutely. And also, by the way, Steve, I think that this year, the caliber in general, from what it is that you're seeing from in natural shows, is actually quite mind-blowing.
I've heard that. I've heard a few people kind of reflect upon that.
Yeah, no matter what kind of show you're looking at, you always have like a bunch of people who look insanely good. And this year, natural bodybuilding, I don't know why everyone decided to compete this year or why they have come out of their kind of small little holes, but it is actually quite crazy. Yeah. And that you then also even received your pro card this year speaks for itself, in my personal opinion.
I appreciate that.
Then you really deserved it. It's not just like a fluke because no one showed up, but this year in bodybuilding, in natural bodybuilding, is actually very, very, very competitive. I don't even know that I can recall a time when there has been more competition around.
Brandon Kempter sent me a video over on Instagram, just being like, talking me through the kind of my pro debut, and said how great I looked and and he basically was reflecting upon how this year's crazy for natural bodybuilding. It's unreal.
It's not just like my personal bias.
No, he said perception. And he was like, for that reason, he's going to try and see if he can get to Boston for Worlds, because he thinks Worlds is going to just be unbelievable. So again, Brandon's in the thick of the industry and like everything. So to have, and I also do
believe that then the Boston show, that many people who are contemplating in coming will actually then come, because we've discussed it in the past that sometimes it may not be worthwhile for people to travel all the way then to the US. And you've experienced that in the past, that the competitiveness the last time that you were in Worlds wasn't really as good as it was locally. But I could see that this year is actually going to be quite a different story. And then as a competitor, if you want to really get the the stamp of approval of, am I really the best? There you can this time kind of prove it.
Yeah, for sure. There's a big hype this year. And I think it being in Boston is going to attract more Europeans, because it's, I think, cheaper, and it's certainly a much shorter flight. Mm-hmm. So that automatically is going to draw more people from Europe, which is mega competitive. And then you're already going to get all the Americans kind of coming there. And so it's going to be, a wild competition. But I do think I'm going to have I think I'm going to be more in the mix of it at Worlds, because I was in an open pro class. So you've got heavyweights, middleweights, lightweights. It's a real mix. And so because we had Babacar there and he's huge, and then you had the heavyweight, you had Ramon there, I think there was already that kind of push towards size over maybe condition and other factors. It's kind of similar to if you have like an open bikini class and 75% of them are 6 foot. The people who are less than 6 foot or 5'5", it doesn't really matter how good they are, because the majority of people are, if they're good and they're that high, you're just going to focus on those. It's kind of similar to classic. A lot of the shorter individuals struggle a bit more because Chris is tall and then the other guys are quite tall. It just tends to bias it that way, the judging, in a sense. So I think being in a weight category is going to put me in better standing. There's going to be more competitors too to be up against. But I think Babacar might still be in my weight category. I don't know if he does weigh the same as me or not, because he's considerably shorter than you might expect.
Yeah.
Because you look at him and you think he looks like a heavyweight, but he's like 5'4", maybe. I'm not sure. I don't mean to understate his height, but he's considerably shorter than me. I'm 5'10", so we could be the same body weight. That just tells you how much freaking mass he has on his frame, right?
Yeah. No, absolutely. Also, I saw the picture of your most muscular, and man, this has been the best look that you've ever brought to stage.
Oh, for sure.
Right? And
yeah,
knowing this
I
for
can't be upset at
yourself.
that.
Exactly. Knowing this just for yourself, like, man, this one shot, it just looks like proper, mate. Like, honestly, you can be very, very proud. Very proud. And if you just were to take a look at this, right, and see beyond the placings, you would assume that this conditioning, this look would win trophies.
Yeah, for sure. I agree with you. I think that's kind of what Cliff gave to me as feedback. He was like, your placing isn't a reflection of how competitive your physique was, like, or that wasn't necessarily exact wording, but you didn't come last because you're like anything you did wrong or you weren't of a good caliber. It was just, hey, you can't, as we always say, you can't help who turns up on the day. I didn't know that there was going to be like world champions turning up, you know, to that event. And so you're just given whoever comes up and you just have to show your best. And so we'll continue to do that. And as I've said before, like, I've lost shows, not done particularly well. I didn't start bodybuilding doing well and thinking I had tons of potential, and so I kept going, and so it changes nothing coming last in that lineup. Yep. I'll just continue ticking the boxes, doing everything I need to be doing. So yeah, I guess I can talk about briefly at least what happened, because I don't know if we'll talk about this with Mike, but so actually on the rapid backload, we got up to almost 1,000 grams of carbs on that rapid backload. So that was quite exciting. Yeah, lots of carbs. And then Cliff gave me basically a bit of a diet break on the Sunday. So that's where the burger and fries came in, because I could easily fit it in. I had like 4,000 calories Cliff gave me that day. Then yesterday was like 3,000 calories. And now Cliff has put me on, it's not a diet break as such, but it's not as aggressive dieting as I was before the show. And the goal of that is to basically be like, hey, let's calm things down a little bit. We've got 5 weeks before Worlds. I'm very lean already. We can get a touch leaner for sure. So let's just not like put our foot down and fatigue you further now. Let's pull back a little bit, almost like an extended refeed in a sense, like an extended pull back and then push again. So I was completely on the same page with that. Me and Mike were talking about what we thought Cliff might say post-show, and I was like, I think he might give me a bit of a break or like pull things back a little bit. So yeah, it's that's kind of where I'm at.
Makes a lot of sense. It makes a lot of sense. I mean, 5 weeks is a long, long time. Just imagine if you were to needing to push for that much longer, the same way that you did here the last time. And I think that this increases your chances that you will look much, much fuller, healthier, livelier, and yet still leaner once Worlds comes around. Yeah,
there's a little more. My glutes are. I don't know if they're as through as they can be. I think there's a bit more to come off there. They're the most they've definitely been through, but I don't have those like hard lines that some people get, and I don't know if that's a consequence of I just need more fat off. It might be, or I just don't have that look. Like some people don't have that, like Dirk has those very deep hard lines, whereas some people have like, I don't know, it's not quite the same. That the muscle architecture, like if you look at my most muscular, I have very like, my chest striations are very clear lines. Whereas if you look at, I think even Dirk, to use Dirk as an example, he doesn't have like clear striations through his chest the same way I do, if that makes sense. Like mine come like all the way through anyway. So I think there's a bit more there, a bit more on my lower back, probably on my back in general. But I think even everywhere tightened up since last time. I think my quads look tighter, my chest, my arms, everything. So the thing is, the saying is, there's always more to come off. There's always more fat.
Yeah, but you're now at a point where no matter what kind of pose you're hitting, you do look good. It's kind of what it is that we've always talked about, right? When you're getting lean, even when you're flat, you're looking freaking fantastic.
Yeah.
Right. And also then posing wise, you can not do as well with posing. I wouldn't say like you should overlook it or anything alike, but let's just say you are hitting one pose not the way that you usually hit it, right? You're not as much on your hamstrings on the rear double bicep, for example. Still, the hamstrings are going to be visible.
Yeah. My hamstrings are very dug out. I think they're probably the most dug out of that lineup this past weekend. They just is kind of ridiculous in that sense. So, but yeah, you're right. I see that with clients as they're getting leaner. It's like, are you on your quads or not? You can't quite tell. I was like, you just need to get more fat off.
Yeah.
I think you probably are. It's just, and once you're lean enough, even if you're on 100% on your quads, they show up. So
exactly. That's
exactly
what I mean,
like
right? And this is what it is that, at least to me, it looked like here with the SNBF.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm excited. Don't know if you've got anything else to leave the listeners with.
No, I will leave you now because you've already said before we started recording that you need to actually catch the next round of eating. So I don't really want to
look at this delicious bowl.
Yeah, from eating that delicious bowl now. So yeah. Thank you guys, as always, for listening. And once again, sorry that I said stabbed. It's, of course, jabbed. I don't really want to spread any kind of more rumors or so that people think like he got stabbed with a knife or anything alike. So, yeah, anything that you want to leave the listeners with, Steve?
No, just again, my gratitude for tuning into my solo episode and leaving a kind comment or whatever. Just listen to it, and I appreciate that. And yeah, thank you for everyone for the ongoing support surrounding my prep so far. I appreciate that. And obviously also from you, Pascal, you gave me some kind comments this episode, so I appreciate it. So that's really it. Just wish me best of luck for the rest.
Absolutely. All right, guys. Cheers, and talk to you next time.
Cheers, guys.
Muscle mass. Sounds too good to be true, doesn't it? It isn't though. It's reality, and we know how to do it, and we will help you achieve this. The Minicut movement is an 8-week fat loss program to make you lose a huge chunk of fat while maintaining muscle mass at the same time. We will support you from the beginning to the end so that you see the results you would like to and come out of it much stronger. You'll receive a fully automated spreadsheet that is based on your nutritional needs. You can choose between 6 different male and female training templates. Over 30 videos will guide you through each and every single step of the Minicut so that you're getting the most out of your journey and that you always know what to do. But the best thing is that you can start whenever you want. The Minicut movement is open 24/7. So if you want to learn more or you're ready to sign up, hit the link in the description below. So let's revive stronger together.